Autobots, roll out! Ba weep grana weep nini bun.
Ba weep grana weep nini bun.
Hello guys and gals, and welcome to another episode of Ginger Toy Mentor. So today we're going to be looking at the Wreck-Gar Studio 86 series. I already did a fashion shot of the box, so you guys got a good look. And now we're going to open them up and we're going to take a look inside and see what Wreck-Gar looks like. I was pretty excited to find this one in the wild, simply because, you know, some of these are actually pretty hard to find. And he does have a really cool insert. Junkion, I guess is what that is. He also has a manual, and he comes with a sheet, which kind of just has a bunch of copyrights on it. So I'm assuming at some point, if you wanted to display him, you could set up his, his little thing, and you could put him inside of his little area, which is pretty cool to include. I mean, yeah, it's just a piece of cardboard, but you know, it's such a cool, like landscape, so to speak, of Junkion. And I think that's a really nice inclusion. It seems to be pretty well made, and it looks like it would last a while. You could probably reinforce it if you wanted to. I know this wouldn't be the collector thing to do, but if you did want to reinforce the cardboard, you could probably take some, maybe some fabric, kind of like very thin fabric, and glue it to the back of the cardboard. That way the cardboard would stay in better shape for longer. So holding in our Junkion Lord here is quite a few objects. Let me see if I can get a good kind of capture of all the little things holding him in. As you can see, he's got plastic holding him in here. His wheels are being held in by plastic. He even has a little plastic protector piece that's over top of his kind of like machine guns, I guess is what they are, protecting his boobies. He's got his axe here. Of course, all of this is used in his transformation, and he looks really cool in this transformation. So let's go over him. Let's open him up, and let's get a good fashion shot of what he looks like in his robot mode, and then we will get another fashion shot of what he looks like in his vehicle mode, which of course is the Junkion motorcycle. And if you guys are familiar with the movie, he is obviously from the movie. He's the one that put together Ultra Magnus, when Ultra Magnus got disintegrated by Optimus Prime. I mean, Megatron, when Optimus Prime died. And man, we got so many little things here, so many little doojanks holding on little doojanks. I mean, it's kind of nuts. Oh Lord, there goes our robot. He's free. Try not to mess up these tires, so I want to get these from the back. There we go, there's one of his tires. And there's another one of his tires. Alright, and that pretty much concludes the plastic section of him. But you know what, we will have some fun with this cardboard later. I think we can use that on the turntable. Why not? And all these little bits and bobs of plastic. Alright, so let's get him transformed, and let's see what kind of transformation he has. But before we transform him, we're going to put him in his complete robot mode. Oh, he's kind of a little back heavy there, it seems. You might have to lean him forward just a little bit. Yeah, a little back heavy. I'm always curious as to whether a Transformer can stand up on his own or not. It's always an interesting quandary. I've also noticed, since I've done a couple of these so far, is that they don't always come transformed properly. And what I mean by that is you'll open them up and it looks like they're in their robot mode, but they're not actually in their robot mode. They're like for instance with Skids earlier, his wheels weren't tilted downward, which they were supposed to be tilted underneath, and so he was rolling when I stood him on the table. So according to the instruction booklet, we have placement for all of his little doodads and bits and bobs. So according to this, his kind of like axe goes on his back right here. So he's got that on his back, making him even more back heavy. One of his wheels goes on his hand, basically to act as a shield, according to the manual. And that acts as his shield. And then he gets a second wheel that goes underneath of the first on his leg, like this. There we go. And then that is him in his completed mode. So he's got his shield sort of hand over here, which of course he can bend upwards. Why is it not bending? There we go. So he kind of has his shield up, and then of course his center torso does rotate, which is pretty good. And he also has these little guys right here. These actually maneuver. Now he doesn't have articulated fingers. They're just hard plastic. And if he was actually going to wield his weapon, I'm assuming he would put that in his hand, like this. And he looks really cool. So let's go to a fashion shot of him on the rotator.
Autobots, roll out!
Alright, so now let's get him transformed into his alternate mode, which is obviously his motorcycle. And for that purpose, we may have to reference the manual, because I don't ever remember actually transforming this guy. But let's give it a quick try before we say die. And let's see if we can do it ourselves. So I do remember a little bit about this guy, but not too much. And I'm already kind of lost. I mean, we got some little saddlebags here. These look like saddlebags on the side of a motorcycle. It seems like those would go up. His feet definitely seem like they have some movement ability here. You know, I'm not entirely sure. Looks like we might be referencing the manual on this guy. Okay, so his whole front chest plate pops out. That's interesting. And then, oh wow, that's a lot of movement, a lot of articulation in the chest area. And then his front windscreen on the front of this motorcycle. A little confused on exactly what you're supposed to do with his head here. I mean, it definitely seems like we've got a lot of play in his chest area, just a ton of play in the chest area. I mean, his whole head and everything just separates, almost like he's like a dying Terminator. We also got his handlebars here, which looks like they roll forward. Oh wow, there's even more play right there. Look at that. Now his whole body is pushed outward. That's actually really cool. And I remember, if I remember correctly, his arms actually became the front wheel. Although I don't know how exactly that occurs. Let's see, his fists fold in, so that's pretty self-explanatory. I know his head is actually part of the front of the bicycle, so that's probably not something that's going to change. I think this whole part right here, this whole piece, looks like it comes out. Seems like a little, there we go, there we go. Alright, so that makes more sense. And then the Junkion's head goes inside the glass dome area. Yeah, that makes a lot more sense. And then we have the front machine guns, which I'm not exactly sure how the front machine guns are supposed to stay. Maybe just like that, I guess. We've got kind of like a little zone in here that both the wheels seem to connect with. Definitely seems like they're supposed to fold in here, although it seems like that's supposed to happen before the head. It definitely seems like it's supposed to be before the head. And then try and put the head in there. Yeah, not sure about that one. Alright, so I think I've gone about as far as I can without using the manual. Let's take a look at the manual. Let's see what the steps are supposed to be. So according to this, it wants us to put his arms up in the air first. Fold his fists down, which is what we've already done. We're folding his head down, and we're bringing up the cockpit, which we've already done. And I'm not seeing a lot of variation here as far as the as what we did versus what they did. It looks to be about the same. And trying to figure out the feet portion. There's a whole lot of instructions for this guy. Wow, that whole back section is kind of crazy. Apparently the entire back section just sort of turns into a... Oh yeah, I guess that makes sense. And then these kick forward like this. Okay, so I think what's going on is that these spikes are supposed to face outward, and when you transform him into the full mode, the spikes still face outward. So it's kind of like a catch-22. Like, they want you to use the spikes specifically to kind of like, I guess, make him look like the movie, but then when you transform him into the car, you're changing the direction of the hands, so that the spikes are still facing outward, and then you put the wheel in between the two hands, which makes sense. All of which makes sense, and I just popped his arm off. It looks like that is designed to come off. That's very interesting. But it does seem like that is how his front wheel is supposed to go. Yeah, so that's how his front wheel is supposed to go. That's how his back wheel is supposed to go. I got him in like 1,000 pieces here though, don't I? One of the parts I can't figure out is how his head is supposed to fit into this thing properly without interfering with the arms, which are on the same like pathway. They seem to interfere with each other, and I can't quite figure that part out. I mean, his shoulders are massive, and you can't fit both shoulders in here. You definitely cannot. Let me go back and reference what they do with his shoulders. Okay, so it looks like, according to this, there's like a locking mechanism. On his arms. And we're supposed to lock this piece into his arms, and I see the locking mechanism on the arm. I'm just not really sure how the hell I'm supposed to actually get that to syncopate with what we're trying to achieve here. I guess that's it right there. Yeah, that makes sense. All right. A whole lot of twisting and a whole lot of maneuvering, and a little while later, and voila, we've got a properly positioned arm set. And then we're going to go ahead and put his wheel in between the two arms. Now we've got our free fly wheel. Not bad. It goes pretty good. And then we've got the rear part of this vehicle, which does need to be adjusted a little bit. There's his seat. It's actually not bad. I'm not sure how his back feet are supposed to rest. I guess they're just supposed to come up like this. Okay, so there's a little notch on his foot right here, and the notch on his foot goes into the notch on the top of the shoulder blades, which allows that to function. And the wheel does move freely, but I have noticed that, like, the seat right here, it bends. So if the seat gets pushed down, it interferes with the back wheel's rotational movements. Not that you're going to be really rolling him anywhere, but it does seem as though you got to like balance this back wheel, because if you don't, it will definitely bind up. And then for the axe, it looks like the axe has a position on the back right here. Sort of a little sideways is what it looks like, so that it's not connecting with the wheel. And there he is. Voila. He has no kickstand though. I'm gonna have to find some way to prop him up for the turntable. The axe on the back doesn't really want to hold in there very well, if I'm being perfectly honest. Let me just make sure I've got everything correct here. Yeah, I mean, that looks like that's it. So it's a very interesting transformation, especially since you have to use obviously these two wheels, which are separate from the transformation. And let's get him up on the turntable so everybody can take a look at him and get him in his full glory here. His full glory. Ba weep grana NiNi bomb. Ba weep grana NiNi bomb.
Ba weep grana weep NiNi bomb.
Ba weep grana weep NiNi bomb.
Autobots, roll out!